You ever get that feeling that it's just become almost impossible to build big, ambitious things anymore? I mean, from clean energy to affordable housing, it feels like progress in wealthy countries is just stuck in the mud. Well, a new book called Abundance offers a pretty compelling diagnosis and maybe, just maybe, a path forward.
It's a question that hits on a really common frustration, right? We all see these grand plans for high-speed rail or new housing or massive green energy projects. They get announced with all this fanfare, and then they just get tangled up in delays and skyrocketing costs for years, sometimes even decades. I mean, just look at high-speed rail. California's project, still not built, after decades of planning and billions of dollars spent. Meanwhile, China went and built the world's largest high-speed rail network in just a few years. The difference is it's staggering. And this isn't just about one project. It's a real wake-up call about our ability to get things built. So what on earth went wrong? Well, according to authors Ezra Klein and Thompson, the problem isn't a lack of money or even a lack of ambition. Nope. They argue it's a problem we actually created ourselves, one that's rooted in a series of well-intentioned policy choices that, unfortunately, led us down a path of scarcity. Okay, so here's the core idea of the book. It says that American liberalism, which, historically was a huge force for building big things like the New Deal or the highway system, it changed. It sort of flipped its mission. It went from a movement that builds to a movement that got really, really good at stopping things, prioritizing the process over the actual results. And this didn't just happen by accident. There was a very specific turning point, right around the 1970s. People were reacting to some very real concerns, things like pollution and unchecked development, so a whole new wave of policies was put in place. The thing is, these policies unintentionally created a system that basically favors inaction over action, stasis over growth. The book really zeroes in on three major ways that progressives kind of scored own goals, accidentally crippling the government's ability to be effective. First, you've got procedural laws that allow pretty much endless lawsuits to stall projects. Second, there are these super complex contracting rules that, while they're meant to promote equity, they also prevent the economies of scale you need to control costs. And third, there's this big trend of outsourcing government work, which just erodes the state's own ability to get things done well and on budget. Okay, so that's the diagnosis of the problem. What's the solution? Well, the book proposes something called the Abundance Agenda. And listen, this isn't just a list of new policies. It's a call for a totally different way of thinking about what progress even means. The big shift here is all about focus. So instead of measuring success by inputs, like how many billions of dollars did we spend on this, the Abundance Agenda says we need to focus on outputs. How many miles of track did we actually lay? How many homes actually got built? It's about swapping an obsession with process for a laser focus on outcomes. And it tries to push past the old, tired ideological debates to just ask one simple question: does it work? This quote, which gets brought up a lot in the discussion around the book, it just nails the philosophy perfectly. The whole idea is to stop getting bogged down in these endless debates about whether a solution is big government or small government. Who cares, right? The real question is whether it catches the mouse. Does it actually solve the problem and deliver real results for real people? Now, an idea this big, it's going to spark a huge debate. And it definitely has. But what's really fascinating is that this has moved way beyond the pages of a book. It's actually starting to form into a real-world political movement. So yeah, the reception from critics was definitely mixed. A lot of people praised its vision for a liberalism that builds, but others raised some really important questions. For instance, some critics, like Zephyr Teachout, worried that the call to cut red tape was a bit vague and could be co-opted to ignore the huge role that corporate monopolies play in blocking progress. Others, like Samuel Moyne in the New York Times, felt the whole thing sounded a little too much like a wish list for elite finance and tech bros, and didn't really get at deeper issues of inequality. But here's the thing. No matter what the critics are saying, these ideas are catching on. What started out as an essay, then became a book, is now becoming the actual foundation for an organized political effort. And if you want some concrete proof of that momentum, check this out. An Abundance elected network was launched not too long ago, and it kicked off with 120 lawmakers signing on. That's not a small number. It shows that these ideas are finding a real audience among actual policymakers. And this isn't just some network in name only. We're talking about actual summits in Washington, policy workshops, and regional forums focus on everything from housing to public transit. The ideas are even starting to go global, with politicians in places like Australia taking a serious look. This is a concept that is definitely on the move. Which, of course, brings us to the big final question. Is this focus on building, this obsession with results over process, is this the key to unlocking a whole new era of American dynamism? Or, as some critics are worried, is it just a convenient story that distracts us from more fundamental problems, like inequality and corporate power? That right there is the debate that's really just getting started.